Okay, so we're going to start with your journey before the leap. What inspired you to join the Leadership Landing Program?
Well, back then I was pretty much stuck in a loop. So I had both in my personal life and in my work life, I was stuck in a couple of my own made loops. So I needed some help. And when we started talking about the leadership program, the points made really fit what I was looking for at the moment.
Where were you in your personal or professional growth journey before you started?
Well, I was stuck on multiple fronts. I no longer felt the connection with myself on multiple fronts. And though I was in a leadership role, I questioned my leadership abilities and if I was doing it okay, if at any given point I was making the right decisions. So for me, in the beginning, it was like it was needed on different fronts because, as you most of the time also say, is there is not just the leadership that we have, see it as something that I do in my work, but also the personal leadership that you have of yourself and of your own life.
Which parts of the program stood out most?
Okay, so what stood out for me the most were the things like the core values. So when we pretty much get past all of the other layers and we start going towards our core, because those are the things that a person needs, where they can create the environment best suited for them. And the way that we started dissecting it during the whole program, it was in layers. So it's not immediately, hey, let's get to your core. No, it was softly layering so that we could also understand why sometimes we have to take those layers away to actually get there. And that was just one of the things I started to realize, that the needs that I have versus what I was doing all the time, they didn't match up anymore. And due to that, it started to make a decline in myself. So I started to get lost. I pretty much got lost in myself due to that.
Did the program help you get unlost?
Yes. Yes, it did. I do think that due to the whole part of having to go to your core and having to figure out what you actually need, both in your, whether it be social life, your personal at home life, or your work life, and finding out what those things are, it can really boost up your life again. And it made me pause and really think about what I would need to get back on my own track, to start getting into a healthier work-life balance.
Was there a specific moment that shifted how you see yourself or your ability to influence others?
I do think that since the program, I have been thinking about when talking to others, to no longer shy myself away from my curious side, because that's actually one of the parts for me with the core, was that I'm curious, and my curiosity is something that really wants to not assert itself, but it wants to be present. And in the past, I would always think that it was a bad thing. So, because of some of the responses you would get either when young or sometimes on the workforce, you would actually get the responses where you would think like, oh, maybe I should not be this curious. So you start slowly but surely closing it off.
Yeah.
And I do have to say that since taking the course, I've slowly made steps again with the part of letting the curious part of me outside. So, and I have to say that also for my social network, it's proven to be positive.
Oh, that's awesome. Curiosity is definitely a value which many environments want and need. How did the program challenge or stretch you emotionally, mentally, or practically?
I do like to think that nowadays, if there is an argument, I do detach more because I can be fiery. So in the past, I would also let some of my emotions just, and I have also taken it into account that there's no bad thing when you just walk away for a little while. If you rethink your words or if you come back on it later, And sure, not everybody is, for example, open to when a person comes back to it later. But at the same time, if in that moment it can keep you safe from, for exactly saying harmful words or stuff like that, it's really helped in that case.
Oh, that's beautiful. You've learned to get to a healthy state before you continue and moving from, let's say, the behavior layer of reaction to a more valued layer of response.
Yes, because that was also one of the things that I really took during your course. You always give examples. And in the beginning, I was like, wait, so you're saying that you stopped the conversation at that moment and you walked away only for later in a more calm moment to try and pick up the conversation again. What I was used to was that the conversations needed to be had. They needed to be had now, and not thinking about exactly what you just said about the sympathetic nerve systems and everything, that they also play a role in, okay, the environment needs to be safe for us both to have this conversation.
Yeah. And also, part of the disconnect that you're talking about isn't necessarily disconnecting from your emotions, but being able to differentiate the needs of someone else and who you are. So, someone may have needs, but it doesn't directly, let's say, represent your core value. And when you're able to differentiate that and be self actualized in your own worth, it's easier also to stay present in a hard conversation. So, when we move to the next question here, I mentioned a few frameworks, but I'm really curious for you, which framework or exercise do you still use today?
For me, it's mostly been about the core values and where my needs are. But I also have to say that those are in line with the way that you describe your dragons, for example, so that yes, they are still there. It's okay that they are still there, but they can be more maneuverable, if I say that correctly.
Yeah.
So it's not a shame that, for example, you were to lock down in a very heated conversation. No, it's yes, it's still there, but it also gives a bit more of a reflecting, so we can use that to also form it more towards our advantage. So since acknowledging some of those parts, it's easier to actually say like, okay, yesterday this and this happened. Okay, what can we do in the future, because we know this was here.
Yeah. Beautiful said. You're really embracing your dragons now. How has your approach to creating impact with colleagues or friends or your community changed since completing the program?
I think that most it has been that due to now knowing better what my needs actually are. So I've noticed that I sometimes need to actually close myself off for a second from people. Afterwards, it's easier and better for me to be there with them in the moment. I've noticed this with my friends, and they have all said that it has shown that it has it's calmed me down. So it's more of a due to the understanding of what my needs are of my personal space and bubble, that it actually gets me to be more present, more calm, more focused when being there with friends.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yes, and it's really also helped me open up when it comes to certain aspects. In the past, I was really afraid of, for example, certain opinions that I would have or anything like that. But nowadays, it's starting to get better with the part of actually opening up and also voicing my opinions more.
Oh, nice. Nice. So you're able to bring some of those great results of your curiosity into the world around you.
Yes.
That's very impactful. Okay. So can you share an example of any situation you handled differently because of what you learned?
I don't really have a very active one. So what I have noticed, for example, is to really focus on the part where everybody has a different need everybody has different ways of feeling safe, and it's best to actually ask them really when you start noticing the miscommunication that is happening, because most of the time if emotions flare up a bit, it's one of the first things that actually happens. So to actually start asking a bit more about, wait, I'm over here and I'm noticing you're on the other side of it. So let's see where we are going, where we're headed. And one of the important things, for example, with me and one of my friends is that a lot of things get lost during WhatsApp and or using Signal. So instead of staying in the texting limbo, which could sometimes flare things up a bit more, I would most of the time call, so I can hear a voice and I can hear the emotion behind it. And most of the time, it's also the way either reading a message wrong or understanding the intonation of it, for example. So instead of trying to shy away from that, it's like, okay, wait, let's go to search mode and let's find out what's going on here.
Yeah, it's very interesting you bring up this example because if you remember when you're having courageous conversations, well, often most wars and most fights are on the convictions layer when people are right fighting. And actually, if we think about texts, very often that's the convictions layer, right? You're complaining about, I saw it like this, or it is like this, etc. And it's not where values exist, those needs to thrive. So when you actually have a conversation with someone, you hear their emotion, you see what's going on there, you can also sense the existence of missed values, which most arguments are about that and actually not about the convictions, which sometimes get stuck in the text, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So really cool observation. It's something that I'm going to take in because I also just had a realization there. So thank you. So you're impacting me too. Okay. So what changes have you noticed in how you communicate, make decisions, or inspire others?
Now I've been focused more on things for myself and my needs,
Hmm.
and to not worry that much what the others are thinking, but really focus on, is this what I want? And is this going to help me in, well, pretty much bettering myself in any way or shape? So, yeah, mostly in the decision part.
Yeah, and it's great that you mentioned that. How do you think when you are focused on what you need to thrive when you make decisions, how is that impacting others better?
Well, if you really think about it, is it helps me to be better in my own skin. And well, it's mostly noticeable if people are already better in their own skin. It makes them more approachable. It gives them energy themselves, which can also be carried on to other people, because nobody likes a person who is down all day, for example. You actually get a bit more of an energetic burst in yourself because you have been making these decisions for yourself and you are seeing yourself grow. It's pretty much that, because it will also get to other people that it's not a time of standing still, and opening conversations that way is easier. Like I said, the approachable part most of the time works. So when it comes to that, I think that's
Yeah,
pretty much it.
beautiful. Yeah, people are more open when you can bring your best self forward. Definitely. There's less blame there. And people are less defensive when there's less blame, when we take ownership of our own needs. So I think it's beautiful said how you said it. Have you seen any tangible results, such as improved collaboration, recognition, confidence, or balance in your work life? So something that's maybe measurable, something which is like this program made this result.
One of the things that I really took away from the courses, and yes, once again, I go back to the core part of it. It's mostly because that really helped me to think about that part, because a lot of times we actually get very, very far from our own core because when you think about it in current society, there are certain standards. You go with it and you keep running with it, and suddenly you've run up the wrong mountain. And for me, it really made me realize that, for example, it would be better to switch to a different field or of some kind of nature. And oh, lost the train of thought for a second.
That's okay. So you were saying it helped you get to your core, and instead of chasing mountains that are not yours, to maybe switch the mountain.
Yes, because now I remember where I was going with
Yeah,
this.
I was trying to help you there.
Thank you so
No
much.
problem.
That was really one of the things that I also appreciated about it. There is always someone to help.
Yes, of course. That's one of the things you learn in the program too.
No, that was one of the things for me. I started to understand that my core values, my needs, and everything were not being met in that current field. And if I wanted to actually start improving myself, start improving my life in its whole, I would actually have to start looking at something else. And here's the thing, when you get stuck in a loop, you stay in a loop because you keep repeating the same behaviors and everything like that. So the thing of this course was pretty much it helped me to break free from certain repeating loops, whether these were convictions within myself or not understanding that some of the needs that I had really had to be put first.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. That's a great result. And I have to say, I recognize another result that maybe you haven't recognized yourself, but you demonstrated it just now. Before you took the course, you used to be very hard on yourself when your mind had a blank and you needed more time to come up with an answer. And the way that you even approached this particular question and asked for time, and you even shared that you lost track, is a very, let's say, self embracing part of your own neurology. So you have, at least what I saw in the program, is you started to accept your neurology and how your brain functions. And instead of feeling, let's say, a loss of worth or a loss of confidence, uh, you just embrace it and you explain it and you stay very calm. And I find that very beautiful.
Thank you. On both
I,
sides.
I don't know if I don't know if you noticed it yourself, but I definitely noticed it as your mentor in this.
I've actually been starting to notice things like this myself, and it's especially when for me speaking English again and not having done it for quite some time, and always back then feeling very embarrassed because you
Hmm.
get the translation button inside of your head working.
Yeah. Mhm.
But now I take a bit more of a time, and also the time that was given during the program for this, it soothed my mind that it wasn't, not everything has to be perfect. We understand what you mean, just take it slow.
Yeah,
We'll get
exactly.
there. Yeah,
Beautiful. Was the program worth the financial investment?
I do think it's worth the money. Like I said before, it takes people out of the loops, the ruts that they're in, and it makes them rethink. It makes them recenter themselves, which will actually, if we would look at a work situation or something like that, it would actually make them more proactive. It would help get them out of their shells. It's a boost of confidence, and the small coaching parts that also happen during the program is that if you did get a situation that week, for example, to write it down, take it to the program, and see if anybody there also knows how to handle it, because it's still confidential. And when I really think about that, those are, at least, of course, this is me personal.
Hmm.
It's a very good tool to have next to your job, because It helps you also start to understand people who are a bit different in their way of thinking, but with no pressure at all, because there are most of the time not exactly direct co-workers, colleagues in there. So it really helps open up those paths.
What would you tell someone who's considering joining the Leadership Landing?
Personally, I would say do it. It will, you have to seriously make some time and effort for it, but the payoffs are good, because the things that you learn and the different insights that you get from this, it will definitely help to motivate you to actually to relook at where you're standing in that moment, and also give you the tools to see where you can be going.
If this program had a ripple effect on the world, so it ripples out, what do you think it would spark in the world?
I think that it would actually help a better communication path, because that's also one of the things that during it all, you learn how to communicate not only with others, but also with yourself. You need to first look at yourself, and then also look at what the other is trying to convey. And to be honest, in current state of employers, etc., one of the things that most of the time is missing is communication.
Yeah. And how would this communication help organizations or companies or leaders?
Well, it's pretty much a data transfer. Let's be honest. If your data, if your codes and everything are not up to speed, then it's not going to get there in time. If you want to actually encourage a team, if it means the whole team or one person, communication for us humans is key.
Yeah.
Because if we do not have this communication, everything will very easily be either interpreted wrong, and the parts that are most important will fall away. Because try the whisper game. You know how you start whispering
Yeah.
one with apple and out comes a fire truck? It's exactly like that.
Looking back, what part of yourself did this program help you rediscover or strengthen?
I think it was mostly the curious part of me, and how to also try and use that to a certain advantage, for both myself and for those actually around me. So personally, I think that's actually the best part for me.
Great. I love it. The world needs more curiosity, definitely. And if your inner dragon could speak, what would it say about who you've become and the difference you're making?
I think my inner dragon would be more telling me that not everything has to be done immediately, that we can take our time, and that the loyalty that we give to others should actually not overstep the loyalty to ourselves.
Oh my gosh, you just gave me goosebumps. Wow. I'm going to have to use that one. Nice. Okay, so now we're just going to the last part, quick ratings on a scale 1 to 10. So I understand my core values and how they shape the way I lead and influence others, 1 through 10.
9.
Okay. I feel more confident and authentic when creating impact or guiding others.
10.
Wow. I have practical tools to navigate motivation, communication, and growth conversations.
Still in development with me, so an 8.
Okay, perfect. I have practical tools to navigate motivation, communication, and growth conversations.
9. Yeah.
The program continues to have a positive effect on my work and relationships.
9. Definitely 9. Yeah.
I would recommend this program to others who want to increase their positive impact.
10.
Beautiful. Anything that you want to add that I didn't ask?
No, more of a thank you. Actually, the thing is just that, like I said before, we no longer think after a certain amount of time. We only see the goal, the future, and we want to keep running there. Okay, but you're not going to get there if you keep walking around in the same maze. And that's the thing. What I really loved about the program is it helps you to actually navigate through the maze that, well, can't say it, but that you made yourself. You made it yourself, so for that to actually help you step out of it's a big thank you.
Oh, well, you're welcome. It was always a pleasure having you in the different sessions. And I feel I've made a real friend in you. You've transformed into you were already a beautiful person, but now I really see the real you. And that's beyond beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah.